This is where the timeline starts. I'm actually at my school where they have a commemorative wall to acknowledge the many Black lives that were lost at the hands of police brutality, racist police brutality. They have a picture of the person, the victim, and an excerpt about them and their death or killing. These are all the names. And the thing is, this isn't really a comprehensive list. This is just some, as you guys can see. And the way they have it set up is like a timeline of deaths. Here at the top it says Black Lives Matter, period. And I attend a predominantly white institution. Excuse me guys, my voice is raspy. But as it says, Black Lives Matter, and they put period, no questions asked. A lot of these took place in California, so this isn't a comprehensive list. And as you guys can see, it's a very long wall. And then here it ends with Alfred Olango, 38 years old. That's my birthday, you guys. Interesting. And then that's the end. Run out of space. Actually run out of space. So as you guys can see, this very long timeline of Black faces who have been killed by the police. And I wonder if Stephon's Clark name will make this list. It's a very long timeline. Here at my school, you guys. It's very unfortunate. This is the one that really breaks my heart. Little baby. So unfortunate. So I want to talk to you guys very quickly before I go to class. I have about a half hour before I go to class, and kind of want to address some things that you guys have been talking about, some points that you guys have been making about Stephon Clark and whether or not we should offer our support to him based on these, it's sad, these Twitter posts, these tweets that the news media went and dug up. And I actually did my research. When I came to you guys with my first 3 videos on this issue here about Black women selling out Black men to police officers, giving them permission to kill Black men, I did not see the tweets. I did not see those tweets. So those videos were done. You guys can go back on my page and watch them. But those videos were done before I saw Stephon Clark's tweets. And I actually did a Google search. I Googled Stephon Clark, Stephon Clark tweets, right, to see what will come up. And you guys, I was looking intensely for something that could validate this outcry from Black women and within the Black community about why they are deciding not to support Stephon Clark. And they're saying that he hated Black women, he degraded Black women. And I'm looking for these tweets where he's degrading Black women, you guys. I'm really searching hard for these tweets. What I came across, I'm gonna tell you guys the tweets I came across. First of all, they were not recent tweets. These were tweets from 2015. We're talking about 3 years ago, and it was around the birth of his child. One of the tweets was around the birth of his child, where his wife had made a joke on social media to say that their child is a little bit dark. She was talking about the skin tone of their child because she's an Asian woman. Stephon Clark's wife is an Asian woman. So, of course, she has lighter skin. And in her tweet, she's talking about the complexion of this child's skin, and she referenced it as chocolate. Dark chocolate, which is not necessarily a bad thing. That's a positive characteristic, right? And she's saying how she's making a joke to say how this baby has gotten so dark. He's past the complexion, I guess she expected her child to come out because she's lighter skinned. And she's saying how the baby took the complexion of his father, right? Because we know the black gene is the dominant gene. When you mix black and white, you have a child that usually resembles its father, especially if the father is black. That's just how it comes out. The black gene is pretty dominant. And so she's making a joke to say that she's, I guess, surprised. This is a tweet that I'm telling you guys about. His wife, the Asian woman, is surprised that the baby came out to be dark chocolate. She makes a joke about it, like just like his father. She makes a reference to how he looks like his father, right? And I'm trying to search within. I'm saying, okay, is that hate towards black women? Like, what are black women getting? How are they assuming that this is hatred towards them? And so I did come across another post where I saw that he did make a reference to black women. He referred to them as black bitches. And he said, dark bitches bring dark days. He's talking about black females, right? Black women. And when I read that, I did not see that as him giving direct hate towards a specific black woman, or even black women. What I saw was him revealing parts of himself, parts of his own identity. Because people have to come to understand, and this is a nut and bolts of my research, you guys. Like, this is what I'm interested in studying. Black identity development and implicit racial bias. We all have it within us, It's like it's something that we cannot avoid, we can't ignore. And the reality and the truth of the matter is that he was struggling with some identity issues. Black identity issues, as are a lot of black men and women. We can't just point to black men and say, oh, black men are this until they this. We have to, before we go jump to conclusions and say, oh, this is hate. This man hates, he's attacking black women. He has this thing out to get black women and to destroy black women, which I think that's the narrative the media wants to portray. Of course, these are white people. These are white people looking at this man's tweet. So, of course, they're going to have these perspectives on him. Of course, they're going to instigate a situation where they're turning black women and giving black women a reason to turn against this innocent black man who was killed by the police, who was killed by their dominant structure, the one that they worship. The white supremacist structure. And they want to twist the narrative to get black women to not stand behind him, to not fight for him, though he's voiceless right now because the man is dead. He was killed by police on March 18th. He did nothing wrong. And they go and try to find something within his character. I mean, that's what they do nowadays. Employers, what do they do when they want to figure out if they're going to hire you or not, right? They go to your social media page to get an idea of, oh, let's see who this person is. It's called a character reference. So they actually use people's social media as a character reference. And I'm like, I think that's a pretty dangerous approach to take to trying to understand a person, trying to see who a person is. You get what I'm saying? Because number one, a lot of times people say things on social media just for the attention. They need attention. And I think that the media, what they did is they took a few posts and made this man appear to be this monster, this monster of a black man that just hates black women, that has this motive out to get black women, when that wasn't even the case. Yes, he had a few posts that they found from several years ago where he expressed his perspective. That's just his internal process, how he sees black women. And I'm not to say that it is right. What I'm saying is that we must be careful before we go make assumptions and jump to conclusions as to decide, does this Black Life Matter based on this so-called evidence the news media, the white racist news media has went and dug up. I think there is a big difference. We have to be very, very careful, and to see how black women are taking this and using it as a movement now, that they want to somehow develop this movement against black men who so-called don't respect black women. And I feel like all of that, what the media is saying, the media putting these tweets out here, basically exposing this man's weakness, living as a black person, as an African American in this country is not easy. Being able to come to terms with who one is and how one fits within the dominant culture is not easy. Some days black people feel like they're strong and they're all about black power. And some days black people feel like, okay, let's integrate. Let's, try to make sides with the white people. And I find it very ironic that that's what's happening in this situation. There were times before this particular incident, black people stood up for innocent black men who were killed by the police. They didn't go and say, oh, let's go and check his background. If anything, when the racist white media would come with these so-called details, facts that they've uncovered about a person to sway public opinion, the black community would have said, no, we're not hearing that. We're not buying that, because we see that y'all are trying to divert our attention away. Black people were wise enough to see that that was just a tactic of the enemy, trying to distort your perception and your opinion of this wrongful killing. So I think that it's important that as African Americans, we stick to who we are. We don't waver. We don't allow public opinion of the media, because they shaping public opinion, but they are public opinion. They are mainstream public opinion, and they're pouring out their perspective of how they see the black man. We know it's not stemming from anything good. Projecting their hatred with regard to the black man onto black women. And now do you see a trickle down effect where it doesn't stop just with the white media, the white racist media who has this negative attitude towards black men, but they're projecting it onto black women, getting black women to view black men in the same perspective, in the same light. They're like, hey, don't look at Stephon Clark as a good man just because he has black skin. Look at him for this creature, this enemy that he is to you. They're trying to paint Stephon Clark as if he was an enemy to black women, when we know that we are not our enemy. Black people, we're not our enemy. I think we have become, to a certain extent, an enemy towards each other, but we have to realize, where does that come from? Where does it originate from? There's things called this Willie Lynch syndrome. You guys cannot act like you don't know the context of which all of this stuff is happening. You get what I'm saying? All this stuff that you see happening right now is happening within a certain context. So before we go be so quick to jump on bandwagons and assume that this black man is the enemy, and then you want to make a generalization and say all black men who fit within a certain mold, who they're trying to paint Stephon in, they're not going to support either. That makes absolutely no sense on that basis. Think about the basis that you're trying to say you're going to support or not support. a black person, especially when we're talking about something as serious as a wrongful killing where these white police departments, these racist white police departments are specifically targeting African American men, killing them and locking them up. Now they ain't even letting them get to the judge. They ain't even locking them up no more. They killing them. You know, think about it this way, you know, before you say, okay, this person hates black women, understand the reason for his hate. If you can understand the bitterness that lives within a black man and why he may have really is self-hatred. He hates being black. He hates blackness. It's not women. Black women, yes, we have black skin, but it's not the black women that he hates. What he hates is the blackness. You get what I'm saying? The color. That's what it's about. That's what he alluded to in the post about the Xbox. He was like, I don't want to touch anything black except for an Xbox. He made it he used humor, you know, to convey his point, but he still is pointing to the color, you guys. And then you have black women are saying that Stephon Clark was a white supremacist. I'm like, come on. Black people, first of all, cannot be racist. We cannot be racist, not against ourselves. Yes, we can have a negative bias. That's the construct that I'm looking at within my study. We can have a negative implicit racial. Sometimes it's overt and sometimes it's more subconscious. It's implicit racial bias where we're not even aware we have this bias. This man just put his bias out there. But we all have a bias against blackness from a very little age. You guys, my research is based on this very landmark study, the dog test study, you guys. The dog test study was used in a very important Supreme case when it came to segregation of black children in schools. You guys, if you're not familiar with the dog test study, go and look it up. But this study looked at implicit racial bias in black children. What they found consistently across the board, whether they were in segregated schools in the South or integrated schools in the North. This study took place back in the 1940s. And what they found was that these black children consistently displayed a negative bias towards their own race, towards their own color. They made positive associations with the white doll and negative associations with the black doll. The study that I'm doing right now, I've replicated that study to do that right here in Los Angeles, California. And it's with preschoolers. These kids are not even grade school. They haven't even reached grade school age. And if you would be able to look and see the associations that they're making, saying the black doll is ugly, these are implicit associate. They don't even realize they're making these associations. You get what I'm saying? But my assessment is pulling this bias out of them that has been hidden, that's been buried deep down inside. So what I want to communicate to you guys is that we all have that bias, whether you're aware of it or not. We all have that bias. Stephon Clark, his bias was just, I think he really took pride in it, instead of trying to hide the bias that he knew existed within him, against his own race. And in favor of other races, he made it known. You get what I'm saying? But you have to keep it real. A lot of black people are walking around with a bias against their black race. It don't matter how much they go out there and preach on social media, oh, Black lives this, and yes, Black lives matter. They'll say that. But check out some of their posts. And even the girl who took to social media and made that video that went viral when she said, I'm not going to protect Stephon Clark, the light-skinned girl. I think she was in her car when she made it. Even if you go to her page and read her post, she herself has bias, negative bias without her own race. You can see it in her post. She used the phrase black bitch is this, talking down about black women in a lot of her posts. You get what I'm saying? But she wants to attack and join forces with the media against Stephon Clark to say that he deserved it. He deserved to get killed. That's what you're essentially saying. If you're not for standing against police brutality, against this man, because his life matters. Not so much that, oh, it's black that it matters. It matters because it's a life and it was wrongly taken by the police, and the police targeting him because he was black. That is the issue. The police killed this man, targeted him because he was black, which means that is an issue that needs to be addressed apart from this whole internal racial bias that this man ended up dying with. We all have it. We all have this negative implicit racial bias, even in children. Like I say, go back to the research study that I'm doing. The research study that set the landmark study that set the precedent, that brought it to the forefront to say that these children at a very young age, a lot of them can't even read yet, but they already identify more with the white race. They're already picking up these messages that are saying black people are inferior. Black people are ugly. Black people are bad. The study looks at, okay, if a person did something wrong, who did it? Do you not know? Majority of those kids will point to the black dog to say the black person did it. My study, I'm not using dolls. I'm using figures, pictures of not just little babies, but adults. And they're discriminating between the white and the black person and making negative associations with the black person, saying, no, the black person is this, all these negative characteristics. And then the white person has all these positive characteristics. Y'all, it's amazing. This is amazing. You will be surprised if you're an African-American parent who lives in Los Angeles. I'm still doing my study. So if you would like to see this happen in full force, in front of your eyes, because people think, oh, it's just black men. Like, oh, black men got this hate towards black women. Like, understand this, you guys. Understand this. It comes from somewhere. Where do we learn these negative biases? I have to keep track of the time. I got 5 more minutes. But where did black people learn that black was bad? Where did black men learn that to hate themselves, to fear the white man, and to think that it's better to date outside their race? So does it make any sense to attack the black man because what you see is just only a product of his social conditioning that we all have succumbed to in this American society, this whitewashed American society? But you got black women, and you can tell that it's fake, y'all. It's a fraud. The ones that saying they're not going to support and they making it seem like, oh, we got every reason not to support. Y'all, it's fraud. It's fake because these women have not stood up for black men. When you look, this is just a random isolated event where they're just deciding, oh, we're going to stand against black men because we have this superficial reason to. Never have they protested to stand for black men. And now that the white media then boosted up their head and gave them a superficial reason to go against the status quo, to go against the Black Lives Matter movement, and now that they've hijacked, the women's rights movement and came in and hijacked the Black Lives Matter movement. And got these women actually looking at black men. It's like there's a war between black men and black women now. Got black women not even knowing that what you looking at that black man trying to find his faults. You're so quick to cast a stone on a black man, highlighting his faults, and you don't even realize the same stuff that you see in him, you see in yourself. So now you're joining with the media, the mainstream media, who is saying that these black men, black women should not be protesting for them. When you don't even realize subconsciously what you're saying is that black life doesn't matter. That's the message, the subliminal message that you're sending out. You got this lady, this woman that got on there and made this video and made that declaration that says she's not going to support, she's not going to defend or protect Stephon Clark, but she don't even realize that she's communicating that message. She's like, oh, I didn't say that. You may not say that overtly, woman, but what you're saying is subliminally. You don't think his life is worth defending. You don't think black life is worth it because he was wrongly killed by the police. Those are just facts. The stuff that they're trying to put out there for you guys to consume and to swallow and digest about who he was, his broken identity of a black man, which a lot of black men face that crisis. His may have been a little bit more on the extreme, but I won't even say extreme because it's not like he was going out there harming black women, or verbally attacking black women. He was just pouring out what he felt on the inside. These subliminal things that he felt about black women, which a lot of y'all do anyway. Like I said, the rap artists sit up here and talk about the different nationalities of women who they prefer, and who come last in place when they talk about their preferences. Black women. But y'all still listen to their music and support them. If one of them got shot and killed wrongly by the police, I bet y'all will be sitting up here advocating Black Lives Matter. But some random guy who nobody knows, that the media wants to create this negative image about, now y'all want to sit up here and take it and run with it as a means to pour out your self-hate that you have. Because that's what you're doing. You're revealing yourself, women. You're bringing it to the forefront of how much self-hate you have within yourself, and you're just projecting it out. And the media essentially is a mediator giving you permission to do that. They're just boosting you up, giving you that support, which makes no sense. Think about it. Objectively, all that is a contradiction. It's an irony, really. Because you're attacking this man for falling victim to white supremacy and being whitewashed. But look at you. You on their side. Look at it. So you got black women joining with white racist supremacist media outlets attacking black men. That don't make any sense, women. We got to rethink this thing. We got to take a different approach, and make sure we address what is most important at the moment, which is the wrongful killing of a black man because he was black. They targeted him because he was black, which we know is wrong. So we want to make sure that we address that first. And then if y'all feel the urge somehow based on this propaganda, that's what it is, that the media has went and dug up to create against this man, trying to build a case against him, that to me is some demonic shit. Because we know the case is building against the police department who killed him wrongfully. They had no reason to. There's a case against them, but to distract from attention away from that case, they're trying to build a case against an innocent man. Do you see what's happening? So now a black person who struggles with identity issues is a criminal. If you're feeling conflicted inside about where you fit in the dominant culture and how you identify yourself, you're a criminal. You guys, I'm about to go in this video because I got to go to class. But the last thing I want to say is go to my website that I created. It's called behappy.org. BIHAPI.org. It stands for Black Identity Development. It stands for Black Identity and Health in African People International. The focus is on Black identity development and implicit racial bias. It is basically surrounding my research interests, but it goes much broader than that because it's a program. It's an organization that I'm creating that I'm going to launch several programs to reach out to the Black community. And you guys can go on there on the homepage and you'll see where there is a showcase where a good number of Black people are featured on that homepage, and they share with you guys their perspectives on identity, how they identify, whether they identify as an African American or a Black person or neither. You guys go and see what I'm talking about. Just go to behappy.org, BIHAPI.org, and you guys will be able to see how some Blacks don't even want to identify with either. So if the police, somehow they fall victim to police brutality, wrongful death by police, and they've put it out there that they don't identify with either, because that's just where they are in terms of their cultural identity. you guys are going to attack them. It makes no sense. Like as I'm saying, what you guys are saying makes absolutely no sense. You know, we have to just be careful and be slow to jumping on these bandwagons, especially when we know it's led by the media. I gotta go, you guys. Catch you guys later. Bye.